Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning. Okay, so for this topic, you will learn on how to use superposition theorem. Okay, so for this superposition theorem, you have the in superposition theorem. Let's look at what is superposition. So in superposition, you are allowed to eliminate other energy sources to identify ataupun determine wanted parameters. For example, as shown in figure 1, two energy source, voltage source and current source, energizing the circuit. The problem here is we want to identify what is the current Ix. Now, in superposition theorem, you are allowed to eliminate other energy sources. As a rule of thumb, to eliminate voltage source, you need to replace it with short circuit. While to eliminate current source, you need to replace it with an open circuit. Okay, so let's look on this example figure 1 on how to solve Ix here using superposition. So it is mentioned here that in superposition you are allowed to eliminate other energy source. Maksudnya you can eliminate one of the energy source in order to calculate Ix. So let's look at this example. On this example, you need to find Ix using superposition. So first, since di sini kamu ada two energy source, which is current source and voltage source. So let's try to remove first the current source. Originally here at the terminal C and D, you have a current source. As it mentioned here, as a rule of thumb, if you want to remove ataupun eliminate current source, you need to replace it with an open circuit. That's why here in terminal C and D, there is no more current source, but it is replaced by open circuit. So using this circuit yang ni, since you open the terminal of the current source, you need to determine current Ix here. Okay, so in order to solve this current Ix, it depends on you on how to solve the problem. Okay, it is based on kamu punya previous electrical principle circuit punya idea ataupun konsep. So from my point of view, in order to solve Ix here, by looking at this circuit, since the terminal C and D is open circuit, I believe that this R3 is no longer exists. The voltage across R3 no longer available, because since this path there is no more current flowing because of open circuit. So automatically here, since V equal to IR, there is no current I equal to 0, so V should be equal to 0. So this R3 is negligible, you can ignore them. So since you remove R3 based on your understanding, so if you want to calculate Ix, the diagram become like this, just a simple series circuit. Okay, so Ix is equal to V equal to I divided dengan I equal to here I equal to 5, which is kamu punya V divided dengan total resistance, which is 3 plus 2. So you get 1 ampere. Okay, so this Ix, since you remove kamu punya current source, you need to label it with a single prime, Ix single prime. Okay. As you know that in the original circuit, kamu ada two energy source, which is current source and voltage source. So to find Ix here, first you want to remove this Is. You have done that. Now you want to remove the voltage source at the terminal A and B. Okay. As you can see here, A and B kamu ada voltage source. C and D kamu ada current source. So for this part, since you only want to remove ia punya voltage source, you need to restore back the current source here. Okay. So if you want to eliminate voltage source, you need to replace it with a short circuit. So as you can see here in this diagram, you can see that the voltage source is replaced with a short circuit. Okay. So now by using this diagram, you need to calculate Ix here. Okay. So if you look at this diagram, you need to understand on how to find Ix here. Okay. Doesn't matter what approach you use, as long as you understand on how to get this Ix. Okay. So in my point of view, since the current source here, kamu ada energy source, and current Ix here is in parallel dengan current yang ada di sini, current I. So for me, it is much easier to use current divider rule. Okay. So that's why here, if you look at this equation, Ix double prime equal to R1 divided dengan R1 plus R2 kali dengan Is. This is the current divider rule punya equation. So which is R1 which is equal to 3 ohm, R2 equal to 2 ohm kali dengan 3 ampere as kamu punya source current, you should get 1.8 ampere. Okay. We know that original diagram, kamu ada two energy source. First you want to eliminate the current source, that is currentnya Ix single prime. Then you remove the voltage source, then you need to label Ix satu jadi Ix double prime. So if you restore back kamu punya diagram yang original itu tadi, kamu ada dua Ix, which is Ix single prime and Ix double prime, and both direction for the Ix single prime and Ix double prime is in the same direction. So Ix is equal to 1, which is yang dari single prime, 1.8 dari Ix double prime. So in the end, kamu punya Ix is equal to 2.8 ampere. So let's look at another example. So here I use a simulation on how yang circuit yang tadi. So in the end, kamu dapat using simulation Ix is equal to 2.8 ampere. Okay, so let's try another example. This circuit is quite difficult yang di atas, so let's try this example. Okay, so this example, kamu ada two voltage source, which is E1 sama E2. Now you need to find I here using superposition. So as a rule of thumb, if you want to remove current source, you need to replace with open circuit. And if you want to remove voltage source, you need to replace dengan short circuit. So first, let's remove E1. E1 originally ia arah this terminal. So I replace ia dengan short circuit. So if you look at this diagram, if you want to find I single prime here, on your point of view, which is the best ataupun yang kamu comfortable in order to calculate this I single prime? Okay. So in my point of view, I can rearrange this diagram jadi macam ni. Okay. So I believe that current passing through the 5 ohm here is the same current dengan I single prime. So what I can do is I will use voltage divider rule, because voltage here and voltage yang di sini, voltage here and this voltage should be the same because ia directly parallel. Okay. So I want to use voltage yang ini. I can use voltage divider rule. But in order to find voltage divider rule, you need to know first what is ia punya di sini. You need to jadikan this one in series, which is kamu punya circuit jadi macam ni. Okay. So if you want to use voltage divider rule, 5 in parallel sama 3 campur divided dengan 2 campur 5 parallel sama dengan 3 kali dengan the 2 volt here yang sourcing dorang yang dari sini. So Vx you get 0.9678. So if you want to find I single prime here, I single prime equal to Vx divided dengan 5, where Vx equal to I single prime 5 ohm. So if you want to find I single prime, Vx divided dengan 5. So you get 0.1935 ampere. Itu baru kamu remove E1. Now, what happened to the circuit if you remove E2? So di sini just now kamu ada E2. Now I just replace the E2 with a short circuit. Using this diagram, you need to calculate what is I passing through at this point. Yang di sini, this I. So you can label this I, which is I double prime. So looking at this diagram, we know that the 2 and 5 is in parallel. Okay. So the same case dengan yang tadi. If I calculate Vy here, then I can just use Ohm's law where Vy divided dengan 5, you get I double prime. So in order to calculate Vy here, you can use voltage divider rule, which is 5 in parallel sama 2 divided dengan 5 in parallel sama 2 campur dengan 3, which is this resistor, kali dengan the source resistor, source voltage here, which is 3. So Vy you should get here divided dengan 5, you should get Vy is equal to so 1.1538 divided dengan 5, I double prime is equal to 0.231 ampere. So kamu ada I single prime, which is directionnya sama dengan yang tadi. I single prime sama I double prime, directionnya sama. So you can just campur. So I single prime is equal to 0.1935 plus dengan 0.231. Dan kamu total current is equal to 0.4245 ampere. Okay. So basically using superposition, you can eliminate one of the energy source macam yang tadi. For this case, kamu ada original diagramnya. You have two energy source, voltage and current. So if you want to remove the current source, you need to calculate Ix here using this Vs. But if you want to remove this current source, you need to replace with the open circuit. And then if you want to remove the voltage source here at the terminal A and B, you need to restore back the current source here. Okay, but if you want to eliminate the voltage source on the terminal A and B, you need to replace it with a short circuit. So in the end, you need to total up kamu punya current, which is dari I single prime and I double prime. That should get kamu punya total current using superposition. Okay, I hope you can try the tutorial from the tutorial untuk master cara kamu memakai superposition theorem. Okay, that's all. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum.